needs to be directly below the camera. A little up. Yeah, this is fine. One more time, one more time, one more time. Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay?
Done. I'm good to go.
We'll just do it from the top, that's fine. What would you do differently?
There are a lot of things.
A very warm welcome to our Leaders of Tomorrow vodcast, your go-to series for unfiltered stories from entrepreneurs shaping the future. I'm Ritvika Gupta, and my guest today is someone who has had quite a positive journey. Priyam Singh, co-founder of Paws India, shares a story with us and about making a mark in India's rapidly growing pet products industry. Take a look. Priyam, welcome to the Leaders of Tomorrow vodcast. It's a pleasure having you today.
So happy to be here. Let's have a great chat.
First things first, I want to dive straight in. Tell me, what is the story behind Paws India? Was it like a moment in your life that you realized that you want to start this, or was it like a gradual process of realization? Tell us a story.
This story is just like stuck to me. Like everywhere I go, this story's been asked. So me and my brother, we've been like crazy about animals since we were kids. You know, we were one of those people who would just go out of the way and just like pick a puppy from the street and be like, oh, and like give it milk and biscuits and just like, I don't want to send it away and stuff like that. We soon realized that my mom is allergic to animals because of the fur and stuff like that. She gets bronchitis basically. So, and we could never actually have an animal in the house. We could never actually have a pet. Okay. So that void was always there, kind of. And, just dealing with, animals on the road and animals of friends, we realized that we have a great fondness. Mm-hmm. The market was rapidly growing. So we were originally pharmaceutical exporters. Like that's what our family business is. And that's what we had been doing. And then we also realized that there's a great fondness, there's love, there's this void that, makes you want to have them. And it was a gradual process, and we saw the market was kind of growing, and then we just dived into it. There was no looking back.
So were you both, your brother and you, were you both like fond of animals and pets from your childhood?
Yeah, absolutely. We were fanatics. We were crazy.
And because you're also from a family of entrepreneurs, right? Yeah. Did that influence, your career choice, or did you just pick it up because of your love for animals?
So, I mean, everybody that comes from a family business background, anybody's dad that's doing a business always has that inclination to start something of their own. I think that's a byproduct of having a dad that's doing a business. Sure. So yes, like I would always look up to him as to what he was doing and how he kind of built something so big from scratch, and he did it all by himself. And to create something like that in a place like Bombay, and I didn't have to look for inspiration outside. It was right in my house. My father was probably my biggest inspiration.
Fantastic. Now, like you were mentioning, right, the pet care market, from how I see it, there are not too many players in it. Yeah. Yet it is, there are, I think, just maybe 2-3 players, if I can actually see the big ones. And it's also a very competitive market as well. So how did you know that, okay, this is what you want to do and this is how your brand is going to stand out from the rest?
We started actually with a very small intent. We used to buy these products for animals on the streets, right? One day what happened is I just turned the packaging and I was like, this is something bleached. This has glycerine. How am I supposed to give this? Like, are these ingredients okay? Are you supposed to feed somebody glycerine? Or is bleach supposed to be fed to somebody? And that's when I questioned, what are people feeding their pets, right? And then we realized that we need to start making clean products. When people look back at the packaging of the product, they need to clearly understand what goes inside. Because, it's a dog or a cat. It's not your child. The dog or the cat is not going to be able to say that this is not okay, I don't like it. If they're hungry, they're just going to eat whatever you give. So as a pet parent, you need to be really mindful of what you are putting in your pet's tummy, because everybody that has a pet, वो उनको अपना बच्चा बुलाते हैं. Nobody calls them like a dog or a cat, you know what I mean?
Right.
What you put in your pet's belly was very important for us, and that's how the brand started. We wanted to make something that was simple and clean. Your dog likes to eat chicken, we'll give you chicken. We'll not give you chicken with glycerine and 10,000 compositions in it. That's not okay. When your dog likes to eat chicken, just give him chicken. Right. Like we promote clean eating and clean feeding for our children and for ourselves. That's what the brand stands. Do the same for your pets.
Right. So let's go back to your early days, when you were starting up. Tell me, what was the biggest challenge for you? Was it just the logistics, or was it just building the brand or the products? What was that biggest challenge, you would say?
I mean, the biggest challenge was just figuring it out. You know what I mean? Because you don't know anything. Like, imagine you're in a kitchen and you are supposed to be making a dish, but you do not know anything. You don't have a YouTube video that you have to follow for this dish, right? So you just need to wing it. You just need to figure out. Sometimes you're gonna burn something. Sometimes you're gonna burn your own hand, cut your finger.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, several times. But yeah, I mean, you wing it as you go. You fail, you fall, you get up, you do it again, and that's the only thing I feel like that's very, very important. I know you're gonna ask me this question at some point in the interview, so I'm just gonna like tell you right now. What's important is just like getting up and coming back daily. That's
Sure.
the only thing that, because as a entrepreneur, you wake up and you're like, okay, 10 things going wrong, one thing going right, I need to fix all of this. So you're always in that warrior and that hustle zone ki kuch theek karna hai, tumko roz उठ के कुछ ठीक करना है, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just having that determination of not giving up and just like coming back and doing it, and just in your head staying focused and like hoega, it's gonna take some time probably, it's a long journey, and but it's gonna happen. So just having that determination is the most important. If you have that, all struggles you can kind of jump the puddles, but if you don't have that, then you'll fall and probably never get up.
Do you remember the first product you launched or sold?
Yeah, of course. So
What was that?
We were the first ones in India to actually make battery operated products for pets, tech products, because the biggest challenge was, I'm sure if you have somebody that has a pet, you'll kind of relate to this. If you have a friend that has a pet and you call them for a plan, they'll probably be like, oh, because of my pet I can't get out, because my pet is home alone I can't get out. So this was the most common problem, that pets had to be home alone for long periods of time. So you're going to work or you're going out and stuff like that. So we made a product which was a tech toy that would play with your pet even when you're not around. So it would start with a click of a button, and it could play for hours with your dog even when he's home alone. So it gives the pet that companionship ki mere sath koi khel raha hai, and he's mentally also, he's stable, he's not barking, he's not going crazy.
Right.
So that was the first product. It went viral, we sold so many, it's still one of our best sellers.
I browsed through your website as well, and you've got some really interesting things. There's some Valentine's Day special as well, and the tuxedos. Those were really cute. And tell me, how do you ideate? How do you come up? What is the process like? How do you decide? Okay, we should probably launch these things, or like this line of products. What is that process like?
So I mean, the main idea is to make any product that makes the pet's life better, right? So all our products basically are complementing next to each other. Now these accessories and fun Valentine stuff, this is just humanizing the pet basically. We as pet parents, we want to dress our pet up, we want to take him out, and we want to go for parties and make him look a certain way. I mean, none of that makes your pet uncomfortable, but it really adds on that little human touch you can give them, things like that. And food is basically one of our primary objectives. To clean feeding is what we promote the most, but yeah, a lot of other fun products that complement the range.
Right. So right now you're based online primarily, or do you have an offline presence as well?
We do have offline presence as well. We are in pet stores. Anywhere that you can find pet products, you should be able to find us. If not, my team is not doing good enough.
Sure.
So website primarily, Amazon, everywhere that you could probably find things for your pets, you could find us.
Okay. So Priyam, you have an idea, you know how to execute it, and you have already executed it. Now the challenge which a lot of entrepreneurs tell me is scaling your business.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are the biggest challenges, for a young business like you, to scale up?
Like, again, challenges, it's like a daily thing, and scaling up, it's a daily thing that you want to achieve, right? Everybody always wants to scale up their business. Now there are several challenges. B2B could be a challenge, going into retail could be a challenge, going to mass retail could be a challenge, online selling could be a challenge for somebody, selling on marketplaces could be a challenge for somebody. You want to make sure that all your bridges of performance or all your bridges of income scale at the same time. So that's essentially the skill of a founder. They try their best to pick up all the sales channels together. Sometimes it takes time, sometimes the foundation takes time to be laid up and built, but when it does, that's there to sustain hundreds of years.
Was there a strategy like in terms of raising capital or getting a loan from a bank? Like, what was your thought process when you wanted to take the next step?
So we are at this point also bootstrapped. We, till today, our idea is that we need to make a good product fundraising is something that's a byproduct of scaling the company, right? Especially something that is more D2C and something that is more marketing oriented. The idea is to create a proper product market fit, make sure that millions of people have tried your product, you've gotten great reviews, and fundraise is a part of then scaling your product market fit. I don't think fundraise, I mean, of course, for some businesses, you need to raise funds at the stage of ideation and prototype, but not for all. It's not required for all. I would suggest to anybody that's probably watching us to kind of make sure that there is a certain level of market assortment that you have for your product before raising the funds, so that you are sure of what you are exactly going to do with that funds. Otherwise, you're just going to have so much money and not know what to do with it. Also, it's not that easy to raise funds in today's day and time. Let's be honest. But even if you do, having to know what to do with the fund and utilize it in a proper way, that's gonna do wonders. And that only happens once you fall in 100 times with the product, and 100 times you've proven that the product is worth it.
Sure.
That's just how I look at it. Of course, different businesses, different approaches.
How do you view money, Priyam? Like, is it a tool for growth, or is it like a safety net for you? What does money mean to you?
See, I mean, for me, there are two aspects of money. One is money that is needed for the business, right? Of course, very, very important. Very, very important asset. Very, very important asset for scaling the business. Is really, really important. Sometimes a lot of businesses, because of the cash burn and because of the working capital issues, they shut down, but they could be great businesses if right money was being put into them. And yeah, so for work-wise, of course, very important asset, capital is needed. You need to make sure you manage it well. You need to make sure it's been spent at right places that can give you the right returns at the right time.
Sure.
On a personal level, I do think money again is very important because, I mean, let's face it, in today's day and time, a lot of things you do just get it by having money, right? So, I mean, you can't ignore the fact that it gets you almost everything, apart from the fact that you need to be a decent human being.
No, absolutely.
So, yeah, my two aspects, personal and professional, completely different, I guess.
Sure. For some entrepreneurs, the young entrepreneurs who watch our show, say they have an idea like you and they want to start their business, what would your advice be? Should they actually opt for a bank loan, or should they actually, go and seek venture capitalists, for some funding? And is there a right time to raise capital, you think?
There is a right time to raise capital. Like I said, every business demands capital at different areas. So for some business to start, you need capital. For some business at the area of prototype, you can raise capital. For some, you need to show certain growth to raise capital. For some, until they don't make money, So it's different stages for different, but for people that are absolutely young and wanting to start something of their own, in one baseline, try to figure out how you can how you can sell what you have today to a person. That's very important. Say, for example, if today, right now, I don't have a product and I'm looking to raise money at ideation stage, you still need to be able to sell your concept to somebody.
And how does one do that? What is a perfect pitch like?
There's nothing called as perfect pitch. I have pitched to hundreds of VCs and hundreds of founders and hundreds of people that are in the circle. There's nothing called as perfect pitch. Whatever comes from your heart and you have pure intention and you want to connect it straight to that person, that's how it goes. If you try to fabricate it, put a lot of English to it and think that, making it fancy is going to do the job, that's not how it works. You need to put it clean and simple. जितने कम शब्दों में आप सामने वाले को समझा पाओ what you're trying to say, that's the best pitch. Literally, there's no better way to describe it. The smaller the number of words, the more the impact. आप जितने कम statements में सामने वाले को exactly बताओ कि boss, this is what I'm gonna do, this is where the money is gonna go, this is what we'll get after these many years. That's your pitch.
Right.
Just give the answers of these 4 questions to your VC. That's your pitch.
No, I absolutely agree. But tell me, people who haven't really gotten to that stage, where they actually seek funding, maybe they're still at the very initial stage.
Yeah.
How do they choose the right bank, or the right place to go and maybe get a loan, for their business? What advice would you give them?
See, this is a very personal thing. Like, some people come from a certain financial privilege and can afford certain things, can bootstrap the business to a certain extent. Sure. That's their way to go. But if some people somebody could be a salaried employee trying to save up from salary and then try to just create the product and show somebody that, see, this is what I created. Some could save up of their own money. Some could lend from friends and family. Once you feel like these 3 are not for you, that's when you go outside to seek from somebody, because every time you try to seek from somebody else, there's a percentage of interest obviously that you pay for it. You also pay a percentage of interest for friends and family, but let's just keep that side for now.
Right.
But once you go out, and again, the if you need a big amount of money, VCs is the approaching VCs is the right way. So there are several ways to go about and scale up, each to their own, and every business model requires a different way, to be honest.
Right, absolutely. So just shifting the focus a little bit, Priyam, I don't know whether you've heard about the 20/80 rule, where 20% of your business drives 80% of its success.
Yeah.
Have you identified that 20%? What do you think is really making your business grow and succeed?
I think we're on the way to that. I think it's a daily process. I think you find this out daily, that what's the 20%. But from my understanding, the 20% is just if you have created the right product at the right price for the right set of audience. I think that's the 20%, because you'll create 100 products, but out of them, say about 2 or 3 or 4 could be your hero products, right? So that 20% of your product line gives you 80% of your business. I think that makes more sense to me.
And what opportunities do you see, in this sector, the pet care sector, for, especially in India? And we have, there are a lot of pet lovers for sure, right? But comparatively, when you compare to other countries, perhaps we are not there yet in terms of pet care, when we talk about their food, their health and everything. What opportunities do you see?
So see, the concern about pets' health has been growing rapidly. The population's been growing rapidly. We all are adopting pets left, right and center. So, the market is expanding. The market is here to grow. I wouldn't blame the market necessarily for pet care being that big, but I think the awareness is coming, because even in human food and even in human stuff, India is still at the bar of awareness. We're still trying to grow, we're still trying to figure it out. We're not there yet, even for humans. So to expect that for pets would be slightly tight, but as I say, but it's growing. It'll get there. We're getting conscious about ourselves, we're going to start getting conscious about the pet as well.
So you started your business back in 2016, officially launched in 2018-19, right? If you were to go back in time and start all over again, what would you do differently?
Firstly, I would probably there are a lot of things.
Okay.
So
I think start with the first one.
I think the first one would just be taking time. I feel like in haste, a lot of things could go a little left and right. So maybe just being a little bit more patient, taking a step back and looking at the situation from a third person's perspective, understanding it, and then taking a call, because as a founder, as an entrepreneur, everything that you're saying, you're actually taking a decision. You're making a conscious decision with everything that you say.
Sure.
Right? So I feel like a little bit of patience, that would be the first thing. Second thing would be not taking your highs and lows too seriously.
Okay.
Because as a founder, again, highs are very high, lows are very low, and lows are obviously more than the highs.
Sure.
So not taking the highs and lows too seriously, just trying to be neutral and stable, being okay and being grounded. I think that's very important, because the high sometimes is so big that it can get you off the ground, and the low sometimes is very depressing as well. So I feel like trying to stay at a pace, at a certain pace that is comfortable for you. That's, I think, very important. Thirdly, just for the sake of your question, I feel like being more mindful about business expenses.
Sure.
That's just one thing that I think that's a learning from my business, that you should be mindful about the business expenses, and a little bit of math is required for every entrepreneur. So any entrepreneur that thinks that, oh my god, my math is not good enough and I'm just going to have somebody else do it, let me tell you, you need to know maths, you need to know your pluses and minuses. That's very important, because numbers is the only thing that can go wrong in business probably.
So Priyam, before 2016, what were you doing? Were you studying? Were you working somewhere else, or had another business?
So I was working with JP Morgan and Chase.
But tell me, from a very safe, I would assume a very safe corporate job, to transitioning into entrepreneurship, what made you take that plunge? I'm
a little bit crazy like that, so I just jumped into it. I knew that 9 to 5 is not my thing, and I always knew it, and I always thought that I have to do something, and my brother was trying to start something, which was this, and I just joined hands.
Nice.
Yeah.
And was there a risk you think that really paid off in your journey, when you look back and see?
The risk was not having a very settled job and doing a business. This is the biggest risk that we have taken. So that's the risk.
And what was a piece of advice, perhaps, from your family that you got? Because you're from a family of business, right? So did they give you a piece of advice in terms of how to navigate the challenges and, everything that comes in your way?
It's going to be funny. Make money.
Make money.
Just make money. Understand, learn it, make money. You need to make money, because if you're starting a business, the end goal is make money. So my parents remind me every day that we gotta make money. Like this, you're doing this, you're working so hard, it's gonna make money, it's gonna help millions of dogs, and things are gonna be better. Dogs are gonna be better, their parents are gonna be happier, everybody's gonna be happier. Like everybody has to be a win-win. So that's probably the one advice that they keep letting me know.
So where do you see, taking a business, in the next few years? Like, what do you, how do you see it evolving, perhaps, from what it is today, maybe in the next 5 years or so?
I mean, this is the most, every founder that you meet now after me also is gonna be like, we want to make the biggest company in our sector. It's a very genuine emotion. Everybody wants to do the best in their sector. They want to have a certain share of market. They want to capture that market. They want to make sure that the customers are loyal, the customers are with them, give the right products to the customers, and have a decent market share, and want the company to be standing long and tall forever.
Right. And when it comes to decision making for every entrepreneur, they rely on several factors. Tell me, how much of it is instinct for you? Do you rely a lot on your gut feeling when it comes to making a decision, or do you weigh the pros and cons and figure it out, or it's a mix of both?
I mean, for every decision, again, there's a different way. But for me personally, it's a very, very personal thing. But for me, it's a mix of numbers and gut. Data is not wrong mostly, and my gut is what also I feel like instinct is. I feel like it's mostly right. Like if I feel something from within, mostly I've seen that that's how it goes. So I believe numbers and I believe my gut.
And tell me, what are the dynamics like, because you have your brother as a co-founder, right? So who makes the decisions on what? Like, what are your different roles? And do you guys fight? Like, in terms of,
You'll be surprised, touch wood. We don't fight at all. He's the most calm person. He's like a monk.
All right.
So, and I'm like this crazy person. So, and he's a monk. So we don't fight. Exactly like opposites in terms of personality. And when you'll be surprised to hear, not one person makes the decision. So we both talk to each other till we both agree on something.
Sure.
Right? We just feel like, I feel empty when he's almost my other half for my business, right? So if my other half is not okay with something that I'm doing, I'll never be able to do it wholeheartedly. So I keep trying to explain it to him that why I think that this could go right, and till we don't mutually agree on either a yes or a no, the decision's not made. We are prolonging it.
No, absolutely. And right now I also want to talk a little bit about the branding bit, the role of social media and how that has played in really giving your brand what it is today, making it what it is today as well. I think you have quite a robust social media presence as well. So talk to us a little bit about this whole digital age that we are operating in. How much social media means to you? How much digital means to you?
Our business is primarily, we started it on social media, so it is a social media friendly business, and that's where most of our customers also discover our products. They find us, they tag along with us, and we're together. We're on a journey then on social media, right? What's happening with the business daily, what products, what offers, what's up with our customers. So it then becomes a relationship building process, and it becomes a community altogether. But social media is super important. I mean, how do we even reach our customers if the social media, as in today, does not exist? So I feel like we have a relationship building process and a community building process, and we make sure that the customers are aware of everything that's going on with the company. So any business that is going to be D2C facing, social media is an absolute must. You can't miss it. You can't miss that bus.
And do you think it's important for an entrepreneur as well to have a voice, a social media presence, or is it not necessary?
Each to their own. See, like my brother's not comfortable at all. So you will never see him anywhere. But I'm okay. So you'll see me at places. But again, each to their own. If you can come and talk about your own stuff and your own products, I think that's great. If you can do it. If you can't do it, I mean, don't completely push yourself and crush yourself for it. But if you can do it, take the plunge. Don't feel shy, and because being shameless is one of the main qualities. Like wherever I speak, I do let them know that one quality that an entrepreneur has to have is being shameless. So if you can drop that shame and just come and talk about your own product, your own self, what you're trying to build, what you're trying to make, which you're already doing behind closed doors, right? So if you can do it, why not? But if you can't do it, it's not the end of the world. Hire somebody who will do it.
So is Pause India, is it present all over India
Yeah.
already?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And which is the biggest market for you right now?
I mean, the metros are the biggest market, to be honest, because they have the most pets. But you'll be surprised to hear that the spending power of tier 2 and tier 3 on their pets is crazy. Like, that's something that came as a shocker to me also. Like, people in tier 2 and tier 3 that have pets, they have very, very exotic pets, firstly. But when they have pets,
Exotic pets, like, could you elaborate?
I mean, like they have crazy breeds. Like, they'll have a Saint Bernard in somewhere
Wow,
in
in
like
India, wow.
Jabalpur, and like slightly remote places, not very inside, but like slightly remote places. But yeah, so probably the metros are the best, and tier 2 and tier 3 are doing great job at this point in time. But
Right. You spoke about mental health, and you spoke about, some of the challenges with which a lot of young entrepreneurs, may face. Tell me, what is the toughest part about being an entrepreneur that not many people talk about?
I think there's nothing that's not spoken. We've spoken enough about entrepreneurship, but like I said, the toughest part is picking yourself and doing it again. Like, nobody, I think that an entrepreneur almost falls and fails daily. Like, you could be treated like a king at a certain room, and you could be treated like an absolute servant at a certain room, or like very badly. You know what I mean? So you need to go like, the highs and lows are crazy. Like, that's all I'm telling you. Like, at some places you're gonna feel like you know it all. At some places you're gonna feel absolutely dumb. It happens with everybody, but probably with us it happens on a daily basis. Because
Sure.
we meet people. I mean, for a certain group, I could be a great founder, but for me, when I look at other founders that have created a change, that have impact on environment, that have impact on people's life, that have a noble cause to their business, I look at that and get inspired. So
Sure.
there's always way to go, and there's always place to be bigger and better and try to change and do the right things. It's only about just doing it again. You'll fail, just come back again, just keep, and the coming back again is daily almost. So I feel like we've spoken enough about that.
Yeah.
But I think that's, if you can beat that, I think you can make it.
Priyam, our show is also watched by a lot of women leaders and women entrepreneurs. I don't like to use the word women entrepreneurs, but you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
They always tell me that one of their challenges are like raising funds and everything. Somehow, particularly, it's very difficult for them. And say there are a lot of entrepreneurs watching the show today, watching this episode today. What would your advice be for all the women leaders out there, the aspiring entrepreneurs, in terms of how they can really stand out, how they can really get their product right, and also get what they deserve, and not like just sit behind and figure things out? Like, is there a platform where they can actually, how did you start?
See, I feel like everything for all founders, male or female, remains the same for most part. Some things that do differ. One is fundraising, because I've had several incidents, but I'm not here to sit and cry about them because I'm in a decent space right now. But I've had VCs not speak to me just because my brother was not on call. So the call has been postponed and the call's not happened, and stuff like that. So there is that notion of single. I'm actually very this thing that single women founders, if they are able to raise funds, that's crazy for me. Because for me, when I've had calls without my brother, or when they're expecting my brother, it's not gone well. I feel they've come with a notion, they've come with a set aspect in their head, and sometimes it's not great. It's not all people, it's just a very small part of the community. It's not all people, but you will on the way you will meet some people like this. But that's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
That's everywhere. And
so what would your advice be for all the women entrepreneurs out there?
it's the same for all entrepreneurs, male or female. Just get up every day, do your bit, make that product, try to sell it to a customer. If you have a proven concept, try to pitch it to a VC. It's the same. There's nothing special for women entrepreneurs. It's just that keep your eyes and mind open. You might face a challenge or two more. That's about it.
Right. Well, finally, as we are wrapping up this conversation, this very lovely conversation, Priyam, tell me, what is your vision for Pause India, like in the time, in the years to come? Where do you see the company?
I want every pet in India to be using a Pause India product. So that's my largest vision. Also beyond India, we want to make some crazy products that the pets are going to love. So my vision is ever expanding every day. I'm never settling. So yeah, we're striving hard to build the company, and we're going to create some great products for our customers and for every pet out there and every pet parent out there. And we're going to continue to do the great work. you'll keep seeing us on social media, like pop up on your feed all the time.
I wish, yeah, absolutely. You know, all the very best to you. And this was a lovely, lovely conversation.
Thank you, thank you. There's not like many women like you as well. So I would also like to congratulate you. You're doing a fab job. And this is a great show. It's going to help like a lot of entrepreneurs, I'm sure.
I hope so. Thank you so much, Priyam.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Before we wrap up today's episode, here's a quick look at our LOT cheat sheet, a quick rundown of the top takeaways from today's episode for all you awesome entrepreneurs. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations, and don't forget to hit follow and share this episode and keep chasing those big dreams. Until next time, this is Ritvika Gupta signing off.